And maybe just follow up on that, Mr. Cebeci. Over the past 10 years, the Turkish public also became quite tired of elections because at every opportunity, not opportunity, but every time the political system got sort of into a deadlock, our party's sort of strategy was to go back to the ballot box as opposed to 90s where you had the National Security Council that took care of major business when dirty business was outsourced to the civilians. But that every time there was a strong political mandate given from the people, right? So how do you see that happening anytime soon in Egypt?
And if you take the only Turkey and Egypt, this might be like, it might seem that we are very selective. Take Greece, take Ireland. When there are economic problems and they run an election and the results doesn't produce a strong enough coalition or a group has difficulty running the country, you go back to the people. That is the rule of democracy. When you are stuck and because the military or the judiciary, the established bureaucracy has this advantage that they give that impression that, oh, whenever the system is stuck, we will be the one who will be moving ahead. And actually, it is the people. So that is why in Turkey, whenever the political parties, not only AK Party, the ones even before, who had a certain base in the people, who can tell their story, who can explain themselves, they went back to the people. But those politicians who think that the military should open up their way and then they can, after that they can vote, they don't want to go back to people. But the thing is, this is democracy. Once everybody understands and accepts the rule, which I have never seen in the world, who said, I understand democracy and I like democracy or I support it, but one man, one vote, that doesn't work. As long as it is one man, one vote, whenever you are stuck in the system, then you go back to the people. And I understand, and I use this control issue, that whenever in a parliamentary election in the Western world somebody wins the elections, that political party wins the elections, but if a non-wanted party wins the elections, then that party becomes the controller of the parliament. So, just look at the jargon, okay? So, the thing is, the only way to solve the problems, to go back to people, get the mandate, and then use that mandate to open up the roads that are blocked. But whether the SCAF will allow this to happen is a different story.
Yeah, I just wanted to weigh in on the question of the duality. One of the reasons why I see more trouble ahead and not leaps and bounds as far as Egypt's democratic evolution over the next several years is because, right now we have these two choices, Ahmed Shafiq and Mohamed Morsi, and they represent the old order in more ways than one. But also, they embody this duality that I forget now who mentioned, but between it's the Islamists or it's stability. And so lost in all of this, in this binary is, well, are we changing or are we not changing? And I think if you break down the first round of the presidential election, you had, again, the country's split almost down the middle. 49% voted for the Brotherhood or the old order combined, and another 51% voted for all the other candidates in the middle. So you could argue that there is at least a slight majority who want change, and then there's a solid half of the country that is clinging in some ways to the past. And I think this duality fits the discourse, it's to the advantage of both of these, whether it's Ahmed Shafiq or Mohamed Morsi, to cast everything, not everything, but to at least perpetuate this duality. It is in their interests, and so I see us playing this game for some time to come. And I think it's one of the reasons why a lot of the so-called liberal or revolutionary groups are reassessing. Even though the Brotherhood, you could argue, is under pressure and probably at a moment of weakness, they don't know what's happening next, and it would be an opportune time to engage with them on better terms, on more equal footing. A lot of them are saying, no, we've had it, we've been betrayed too many times, and we're done. This is not our battle. I mean, I hear this a lot from liberals and revolutionaries saying, this is the old fight between the regime and the Brotherhood. Let them duke it out. This is not our battle. Maybe we'll go back and sort of regroup. But I think this also, I think, goes to your question on a national consensus. It might be a while before we get there.
But do you feel that the revolutionaries have been discredited by the media and scab-controlled establishment in many ways as these troublemakers who kept blocking roads, and that's kind of the feeling we get?
Yes, I mean, I think there was a very clear campaign targeting the revolutionaries from a very early stage, from just within weeks of Mubarak's removal from power. And just like we've seen this media campaign against the Islamists in more recent weeks. But, you know, they've also, I think, been self-marginalizing. I think they've also hurt their own credibility. I mean, all of these groups, the Islamists, the revolutionaries, certainly the SCAF, they've all overreached at one point or another. They've hurt their own credibility. They've attempted to go too far. They've alienated others. But at the end of the day, if you're the weakest party and you alienate people, you tend to kind of accelerate that process of being marginalized. So the revolutionaries were being marginalized by the state, by the regime, by the state-run media and others, and also by the Islamists, who were benefiting from this new political process. And that's what caused so much of the bad blood now is now you know, people are looking at the Brotherhood and saying, you have all this revolutionary fervor. Well, where were you when we were in Mohammed Mahmoud? Where were you when we were being attacked in the streets? And you accused us of being anarchists and sowing and essentially parroting the regime's discourse. So, I mean, it really is, it's hard to overcome that credibility gap.
It would be really difficult to necessarily go back to in a real way.
I think it will take some time, yeah, to rebuild that.
Thank you. Do we have more questions? Yes.
Yes, I have a question. My name is Ellen I was wondering, this is going on, this whole process of deciding how to play this political game. But there are a lot of people, I mean, the foundation for the revolution was socioeconomic kind of demands. So what happens if, I mean, the economy in Egypt is not really that great? What happens when people get really, really fed up? Will that happen? Will that have some kind of impact? Can that kind of spur new protests, or is that totally out of I mean, this is a question of a deep state. I mean, you're hinting yeah.
I'm going to give you an on the one hand, on the other kind of answer, but my emphasis is going to be on the other. On the one hand, yes, it's possible. And why is it possible? Because one overlooked source of revolutionary ferment was labor. It was more before the revolution and so on. That is possible, that it would come rather than from sort of talk about our youth from factory camps. I think that's possible. But but on the other hand, this is what I think is more likely. There was an ethos that prevailed in 2011 that said, essentially among almost all politically conscious Egyptians, the reason our country's in a mess is because we got the politics wrong. We've got to fix the political system. And I think what is happening over the last few months is a sense, this just isn't going to work. And I think what happens is people get alienated, people give up on politics. And a prolonged economic crisis, I think in order to fix the economic system, you need some political stability, and that doesn't seem to be coming anytime soon. So what I worry about is an economic decline that is associated with political alienation more than anything else.
Can I say a few sentences and then conclude? I would like to repeat myself one time, and this is for the outside actors also. The fixating its position on the question of who will respect the Camp David, who will create the fewer problems for Israel, have so far been the major problem of the US policy. And despite all the efforts of the US administration's support for the Arab Spring, this is a crucial moment not only for the future of Egypt, but also for the future of entire transitional processes in the Arab countries and in the North Africa. So staying as a dormant in the most decisive moments for the democratic transition in the Middle East will not match the perceptions of the United States in the region, at least what it has been perceived so far. So for all the outside actors, including US, Turkey, European Union, they should at this moment capitalize on the formal and informal channels of communication with the military, with the political, and with the social leaders from all walks of life, from every different ideological perspective, in order to underline the importance of establishing a normal political civilian order. Thank you.
Okay, I'll take that as your last word. I guess we are good. Thank you very much for joining us, and you can continue the conversation afterwards. Thank you.